Hello there, you're welcome back to this part 2 on this paper 1 GCSE past questions compilation. So we'll move on. You might want to check up the first video if you've not. It's going to really help you a lot. It says which two changes will increase the rate of carbon dioxide diffusion into the mesophyll cells. I mean, this talking about into this place and as it were. So decrease in number of chloroplasts. Well, chloroplasts doesn't really directly affect that here. There should be increase in carbon dioxide concentration and the increase in the number of stomata that are opened. Yeah, these are stomata basically. All right, so if you have more stomata opened, that means there's more holes through which air can go in. Then secondly, if you have more carbon dioxide outside, you will agree with me that diffusion is from area of high concentration to area of low concentration. So easily, carbon dioxide can just diffuse in once you have more of it outside. All right, that makes sense there. Like I always say, please try to first answer the question by yourself, then play what I mean, pause the video, attempt the question, then play and hear what I'm going to say. Diffusion also happens in the human lungs. Okay, this is the question here. It says, explain how the human lungs are adapted for efficient gas exchange by diffusion. Okay, well, basically, this is the alveolus within the lungs, all right? So, well, we say that it says how diffusion, okay, this is what happens. Carbon dioxide, you can write it in full. Carbon dioxide is higher in the blood, so it diffuses into the alveolus, period. Also, oxygen is higher in the, this meant to be higher, is higher in the alveolus. Actually, it's supposed to be is higher in the alveolus and lesser in the blood. But I don't want to go through all that. You can do that anyway. Let me write that here. Oxygen is higher in the alveolus than it is in the blood. Hence, oxygen diffuses into the blood. So let me bring that to perspective here so you can see. So what I just explained is this. So we have more oxygen here, like that. And we have more carbon dioxide here, more carbon dioxide here. So law of diffusion is from high concentration to low concentration. So we have more carbon dioxide here, so it moves this way because it's higher. And we have more oxygen in the alveolus than it is in the blood, so it moves this way. So basically speaking, it's a gas exchange. Oxygen is higher in the alveolus, it moves to the blood. Carbon dioxide is higher in the blood, it moves into the alveolus. It's just, that's what you're meant to explain, because it says by diffusion. So you're meant to make reference to this law, higher somewhere, lower somewhere. All right, okay. Then the next question here, it says name the process by which water is absorbed by the root hair cell. So this is a root hair cell, just one of them drawn. So this is a water molecule, and the process by which water is absorbed usually is by osmosis. So the answer to that question is osmosis. All right, that's how plants absorb water normally. All right, and as a matter of fact, we still have more water here, and usually that's what osmosis is. Osmosis is you're moving water from where water is more to where water is less. That's what osmosis is. That's the definition. One of the definitions of osmosis is the movement of water from area of high concentration of water to an area of low concentration of water. So you can agree with me, we have just few water molecules here and we have a lot of water molecule out in the root. Now let's move on. Nitrate ions are different. Nitrate ions need a different method of transport into the root hair cell. Now explain how the nitrate ion in figure 3 are transported into the root hair cell. Use the formation of figure 3 to answer your question. So here this, see this. So we have nitrate ion, which are this is the key. So these are the nitrate ions. So what does that mean? Let me get this cleared out so it can be cleared for us to see. So you have just these here, and we have a lot of nitrate ion within the root hair cell. So which means we have lesser concentration of nitrogen ion outside the cell, and we have higher concentration within the cell. That tells us something. So how will nitrogen ion go into this? It's going to move by active transport. So let's answer. So I hope this makes sense. Active transport means you are transporting things from area of low concentration to high concentration by the use of energy. That's what it is. Because usually things will not want to move in that direction. Usually it should move. Nitrogen start moving outside. Normally it should start moving into the soil. But that will not make sense, because that means this plant will end up dying. But nature has it that even though you have lesser nitrogen in the soil, the little you have in the soil should still go into the roots, because the plant needs nitrogen to make chlorophyll, and chlorophyll is needed to make to absorb sunlight, as it were. So it's very important. So let's go back here and explain this. So it says name the process. The process is active transport. An explanation. It's a 3 marker, so we're going to give 2 points. Active transport moves substances from area of low concentration in this low concentration here, low concentration in this instance in the soil, to area of high concentration, or it means going to be higher, please pardon me, which is in the root hair cell. All right, to area of high concentration, so using energy. Now, why is this? Because he says to explain. So this is 1 mark, this 1 mark. Why should we do that? This is aimed at maintaining nitrogen ion, or maintaining nitrogen ion in the root cells. This is maybe maintaining nitrogen. Is it nitrogen? Nitrate, I think it's nitrate. Nitrate ions within the cell, within the root hair cell. Because if it were going to use what's it called, diffusion, that means the plant will literally lose all its nitrate into the soil, which is not healthy for the plant. So now remember that you can also say that instead of saying active transport move substances from area of low concentration to high concentration, you can just say, you can still say active transport move substances against concentration gradient using energy. Do you get what I'm saying? So you can still, it's a shorter way of saying it. This is another answer in itself, or another way of stating that whole thing. Against concentration gradient using energy. Energy must be present because you are forcing things against the normal. It's like you are swimming against the flow of river. All right, you might want to check up the video on active transport, as it were. So please, this is very, very important. All right, hope that is noted. Glucose is absorbed in the blood in small in the small intestine by both diffusion and active transport. Describe how the small intestine is adapted for efficient absorption. Number one, so here you have 5 questions, sorry, 5 marks, and that means 5 points. So you're supposed to start by saying that small intestine has villi, which, sorry, I didn't say, I just wrote small don't mind me, intestines has or have, plural, have villi, which increases the, okay, villi is plural, so it's meant to be to increase, which increase the surface area for absorption. That's a point. For efficient absorption. Next point now. So you say you should explain when glucose is higher in the lumen, it diffuses into the the cells, to the cells of small intestine. Now, when glucose is higher in the cells of small intestine, when glucose is higher in the cells of small intestine than it is in the lumen, it uses active transport, which uses energy to transport glucose against concentration gradient. Then lastly, we can say that I should have added this at the beginning. It should be somewhere here before I started the glucose thing, that the villi is vascularized, or it is moist. So it is vascularized. When I say or, sorry, it's not as if you can use it. There are two different points entirely. Vascularized means that if it is villi as it were, so it has blood vessel within it, so that it can easily just absorb. I mean, the blood vessel is there to absorb and to take things in. So the villi is vascularized, or you can say the villi is moist to allow sorry, I think the writing is getting really good from behind here. The villi is moist to allow glucose dissolve and all of that. I think I'm trying to remember if there's one more point I can add to this. Yeah, I think that's it. Even though we can break You can say when glucose is higher in the human lumen, diffusion is used. There's a way you can break that down into, like what I've written here. You can still break it down into simpler way to, break some of the point into two to get 5 marks as it were. But I think this is okay. All right. Then it says draw one line from each level of organization to the correct plant part. So organ, which of these is an organ? Leaf is an organ. While spongy mesophiles is a tissue. Yeah, because those are collection of cells as it were. And you know that spongy mesophyll is even part of leaf. Then root hair cell is just a cell. So moving on. Okay, animals and plants contain organs and tissues. Name the part A, B, C. A is bronchus, which is singular. B is the trachea, and C are alveoli. Alveoli. I didn't say alveolus because it is pointing at 2. Please pay attention to that. This is pointing at 1. That's why I said bronchus. If it was pointing to this and the other one, which is hidden behind our lungs, it would have been bronchi. All right. Okay. Which organ system is the heart part of? That should be circulatory system, which is otherwise called transport system, and otherwise called cardiovascular system, which is heart vessels, so to say. So it says here, figure 2 shows a section of a leaf. So it says, in which part of the leaf does most photosynthesis takes place? This is a very interesting question. Now, let me start by saying that what is, let me label this. P is upper epidermis. Q is spongy, so excuse me, not spongy, palisade mesophyll. R is spongy mesophyll, while S is that would be lower epidermis. Now, okay, so I deliberately labeled that. Now it says which part of the is most photosynthesis is going to take place. That's going to be Q. Why? Because it contains loads of chloroplast. The answer usually must be either of these two or these two. It contains loads of chloroplast, and you say that it is arranged perpendicular to the surface, so it's like a 90 degrees to the surface of the, so that makes it like the cells are well arranged, so they are compact, so they're able to absorb sunlight very well. All right, so that makes them effective at photosynthesis. While spongy mesophyll doesn't do much of photosynthesis, it does a little, but it does more of storage, as it were. So it says, what is T? T is the guard cell, and while this hole is the stoma, singular. If it was 2 or more, it's going to be stomata. All right. A leaf is an organ made of tissue. What is a tissue? Tissue is a collection of similar cells forming common function, so to say. Like you just try to do the same thing, but the keyword is similar cells. Similar cells, yes. or group of cells performing similar functions. You can say common functions, similar functions, common or similar functions. All right, that made sense. Okay, that will be the end of part